I'm a pretty cheap guy. I drive a 2001 Camry, all the shirts I wear are ones I got for free, and my free time is spent making stick figure videos, which is also free. That being said though, I do have one thing that I have a pretty hard time budgeting with. Food. Man, I can't get enough of it. Salmon, sashimi, strawberries, steaks, and that's just the first four I thought of that start with an S. And off the way I'm talking right now, you can bet your ass I've been packing on the pounds lately. Which got me curious, what if somebody just stopped eating? Not me though, I'm too much of a fat ass for this. But what happens to the body when someone refuses to eat, and how long can they actually survive without eating? To answer this question, I called upon my good friend. Alright, so this is Melvin Harris, aka Big Smoke. Melvin is your average man, a little chubby, with a fair bit of muscle mass, and I convinced him not to eat food anymore. And you know what? As a treat, I'll pay for Melvin's last meal. Alright bro, go for it.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s.
Anyway, after Melvin has had his fill, the time officially begins. The food that Melvin just ate turns into glucose, which is used by the mitochondria, or the powerhouse of the cell, to make energy for your body. And for the next 6 hours, Melvin should not feel hungry, because his body is busy digesting all the food he just ate. That is until about 6 hours, when Melvin will start to feel hungry again. And usually this is a sign our body needs more glucose. But Melvin is no longer allowed to eat, so he's just gonna have to deal with this. By the next day, Melvin is probably starting to feel a little tired, because almost all of the body's glucose stores is now used up, and the body has switched to its second source of energy, ketones. So ketones are a compound made by your liver when you run out of glucose and need a quick backup for energy. Anyway, switching to ketones is actually not really a big deal. In fact, more likely than not, you've subsisted off ketones for a small amount of time. That being said, after a day or two, once Melvin's body is finished using ketones, the alarms start blaring, the hunger starts glaring, and for survival, Melvin's body is preparing, because now his body is officially feeding on itself to meet its energy demands, and that's through eating his excess fat. So the reason people get fat in the first place is because when you eat all of this, but don't burn that energy off through exercise, your body needs to store all the energy you just ate, and it does that through fat. Now the amount of fat you have on you is pretty vital for deciding how long you can actually live without food, because while Melvin might have enough fat to hibernate throughout the winter, a bodybuilder is going to only have so much fat to work with. And this is why, while some people can only last 2 weeks without food, some people might be able to edge out a whole month without eating. And then there's extreme cases like Angus Barberi, a man who went 382 days without eating a single thing and only subsisted on multivitamins, because there are certain vitamins your body needs to get from outside, and some tea and coffee. The catch with this was this guy was a baconator short of being on my 600-pound life at the beginning of the experiment. But after a year, he got himself down to 180 pounds, which means he lost almost 280 pounds, or the weight of 2 of me. Anyway, your body breaks down all your fat and turns it into something called acetyl-CoA, which from my understanding is like switching an engine from premium diesel to coal. It's basically a much less effective fuel source for your body. But hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. And depending on how intimate you've been getting with the McDonald's menu, you could have a lot of fat just lying around. Anyway, as Melvin's body starts eating itself, it is extremely panicked because it doesn't know when your next meal is coming. And because of that, it starts to shrink some of your less useful organs like your liver, your kidneys, probably your cock. Nah, I'm kidding, it doesn't actually shrink your dick. But Melvin is going to have a much slower heart rate, and his body is going to drop its internal temperature. So after 2 extremely long months for Melvin, he's finally run out of fat stores to use for his energy, and his body has moved on to the final source of energy left for him to use, and that is his muscle mass. Now throughout the time Melvin has not eaten, he's probably already lost a decent amount of muscle mass, since at the same amount of weight, muscle burns much more energy than fat does. But now that his body is on its last leg and used all the fat it can, it'll finally switch to breaking down any muscles left to try to get all the energy it can. Now while most of your body can still use this energy from your muscles, your brain cannot. In fact, your brain has been subsisting off ketones this entire time. Also, organs like your liver and your kidney have shut down by now. And as you can imagine, this is not great news for Melvin, as he's much more likely to die of disease and illness. and even vital organs like your heart are gonna get much weaker and are likely to give out. It's also around this time when Melvin might even start hallucinating or start falling unconscious. And realistically, even if you have enough muscle to be built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, your time is probably running out. But look man, despite what Melvin did to my bank account, I still like the guy. So right before he dies, I got him his exact order from McDonald's. Yep Melvin, that's right. This is all for you. Go to town. Melvin? Melvin! What just happened was called refeeding syndrome. And this happens when you eat too much food too quickly after a long period of time of not eating. And it causes seizures, heart failures, comas, and in some cases even death. So instead of feeding Melvin all this McDonald's at once, what he actually has to do is eat small amounts of low-carb foods as he slowly builds back the amount of calories he intakes every day, until eventually we can introduce Melvin back to carbs, bring back his calorie intake to where it was before this experiment, and he can get back to speedrunning type 2 diabetes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Comment any video ideas you have, consider liking and subscribing, and have a great day.